Raise your right hand, ma'am. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am. If you have a seat up here in the witness chair. And a clerk, keep that. All right, try to pull your chair forward as best you can and speak into the microphone. You can adjust it as you need to. Samantha?
Thank you. Ms. Bart, you know the defendant in this case, Rubini Brown? William Rubini Brown Jr.?
Yes.
Okay. Do me a favor. Sit forward, closer to that microphone so we can hear you. Thank you. That was a yes?
Yes.
Can you tell me when you first met him?
February 2015.
And did you meet him through work or socially or how?
Both.
Okay. Can you tell the court a little bit about that?
I was working at Wacko's, and word around I could get some drugs from him, so purchased cocaine from him.
You were employed at Wacko's?
Yes.
And you said word around Wacko's
Yes.
was that you could get drugs from the defendant?
Yes.
Specifically, were you looking for any drugs in particular?
Yes.
What kind?
Cocaine.
Your Honor, I'm objecting to this line of questioning. I don't see any relevance to Ms. Barton's activities back in February when the state said they're going to be limiting the Williams rule to.
Right, I understand the objection is relevant. Stage, what's the relevance?
Judge, I have to lay a predicate of context for her knowledge of the defendant before I get into the specific activities that we've discussed already.
Well, I think you've done that.
Thank you. So, your relationship began with him as you were a drug customer.
Yes.
Did it progress eventually beyond that?
Yes.
Right? Progress to romantic, and were you actually living with the defendant?
Yes.
Did you actually, was there a point in time where you began, can you tell us about when you started living together?
May.
Right. So would you have been living with the defendant from May all the way through and including the period in July that resulted in his arrest?
Yes.
And during that time, and I'm going to specifically just start focusing from this point forward, okay, on the period, say, between June, mid-June, say June 15th, and July 24th, okay? But during that time, were you aware of the defendant still continuing to be what you refer to as a source of narcotics?
Yes.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about the types of narcotics?
Yes.
Okay. Cocaine?
Yes.
Roxicodone?
Yes.
Vicodin?
Yes.
Morphine?
Yes.
Any others?
Possibly some hallucinogenic.
I'm sorry, hallucinogenics?
Yes.
Okay. And did he just give drugs to you, or was there other people?
There's others.
Okay. Were you actually present when he would conduct these transactions?
Yes.
On more than one occasion?
Yes.
About how many, even on a daily basis, how many times would you say you knew about the defendant purchasing or selling drugs?
Objection, Your Honor, relevance again.
What's the time frame we're discussing now?
Again, beginning, this is the period between June 15th and July 20th.
Go for it.
5 more areas.
5 or more varies, kind of depending on the day maybe?
Yes.
Bigger demand on the weekends?
Just today.
Okay. As it relates to this activity, did the defendant have to maintain a supply of these kinds of drugs?
Yes.
And where did he keep that supply?
Nightstand.
Nightstand. In your shared residence?
Yes.
Okay. Who else lived in that residence with you?
My 2 children.
Your 2 children, how old?
5, Lily's 5, Lonnie 2.
Okay. And this nightstand, where was it located?
In the bedroom, right inside the door.
Was it locked in some way or any way like that?
No.
All right. And these transactions, would some of them occur in the apartment?
Yes,
Would some of them occur around or outside the apartment?
yes,
And would the children be at least present in the vicinity,
yes,
even if they weren't standing over? Would you occasionally be there with your children while the defendant was doing this?
yes,
And you have actually pled guilty to child neglect in this case, haven't you?
yes,
His Honor is going to determine your sentence. You understand that?
yes,
In addition to you being present with the children, were there times where the defendant was the custodian of those children,
yes,
where you would be somewhere else and he would have them in his own sole care?
Objection, Your Honor, leading.
Only the witness.
Would there be times where you weren't around but the defendant would watch the children?
yes,
And can you tell us, as far as these deals that the defendant was doing with respect to the narcotics transactions, what, would he use any particular tools or devices or anything to help facilitate those?
Mouse, cell phone technology.
S-
Cell phone.
Cell phone?
Technology.
Okay. And when you say cell phone technology, in the form of what?
Phone calls, text messages.
Okay. And are you familiar with some of the language that would be used to conduct those sorts of things?
Yes,
In fact, did you sometimes use that sort of language yourself?
yes,
Are you familiar with at least some of the names of the defendant, the people that the defendant would interchange and conduct these activities with?
some yes.
Do you think you knew them all? When the defendant would have the children in his care and you were elsewhere, was there some sort of moratorium or anything on his activity, or would he just continue as normal?
Just leave, normal day.
Normal day?
Yes,
All right. And I understand that maybe you can't tell us exactly on what date or what place when some of these transactions occurred, but could I show you State's Exhibit 1 and ask you about some of those transactions if I may approach, Your Honor?
You may.
Thank you. Ms. Barton, I'm showing you what's been entered into evidence of State's Exhibit 1. And you recognize that these are, if I were to represent to you, that these are text messages. Do you see these?
yes,
Okay. Do you know the names of some of these people? For example, do you know the name of a person referenced here on page 3422 at the top as Nerfit?
yes,
Do you know who that is?
yes,
Was that one of the defendant's customers or drug sources?
yes,
Okay. And do you see the language in the commentary there next to it? Beginning with the words, "I know, bro."
yes,
Okay. And you see the conversation that kind of goes back and forth here? And including down here, do you see the next line, and I'll reference line 32104, where there is a discussion here with a person named Josh.
yes,
Okay. Do you know that person?
yes,
Is he also one of the people who the defendant would exchange narcotics with?
yes,
It says got more 30s.
yes,
Do you know what that's a reference to?
yes.
What is it?
Objection, Your Honor, speculation.
Lay the proper record.
Have you seen and heard the defendant use the phrase more 30 before?
Yes,
Do you know what that is? How do you know what that is?
I've used,
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the answer.
I've used it also.
And you made that same reference yourself on occasion?
Yes,
All right. Can you tell the court what it is, please?
no,
Morphine? Are these 30s a reference to the strength of that tablet?
milligrams,
Okay. Would you look down there at line 32106? Again with Josh. Or, I'm sorry, again with, this one says Jody Nerfit. You see that? See the end here that says, is that another person that like the ones we've been talking about, that the defendant would exchange these deals with?
yes,
This one says got a Roxy. Do you know what a Roxy is?
So,
It's a pill, is that one of the narcotics?
yeah,
Do you know the full name of that?
oxycodone.
Roxicodone. Did the defendant deal in those substances as well?
Yes.
Okay. Would you go ahead and look at line 32108, again with Jody Nerfit. This is a response to him, or to Jody Nerfit. It says, all out, what's up with your script? Okay. Is that from the defendant to Jody Nerfit? To him? Okay. What do you mean, what does this mean? Do you know what that means? What's up with your script? Can you,
Yeah.
okay, can you tell the court what that phrase refers to?
Objection, speculation, Judge.
Overruled.
Okay. Go ahead, please tell the court what that phrase refers to.
Basically, seeing if he could buy a script, a prescription.
So, explain to me how that works. Assume I know nothing about the drug trade, okay? When you talk about purchasing a prescription or purchasing pills from a prescription, how is it that the defendant did this?
Pay for the visit, pay for the prescription, in exchange for the prescription.
Okay, so the patient would have a doctor's visit, and are you saying the defendant paid for that?
Yeah.
Okay. And then to fill the prescription also would cost money,
Yes.
and the defendant would pay for that?
Yes.
And in exchange, what would the defendant get?
The prescription.
The pills?
Yeah.
Okay. And you know what you do with them after that? I'm sorry?
Flip and turn,
Flip them to turn them,
sell it.
all right, like I said, assume I know absolutely nothing about the dope dealing trade, okay?
Mr. Manti, and I know this may require you walking back and forth, but unless you're referring specifically to the exhibit, if you could go back to the podium so that it will assist, I think, the witness in speaking up so that Madam Court reporter can hear a little bit better.
Yes, sir. Ms. Barton. If I ask you about phraseology like you got any more subs, is that also a reference to these types of transactions?
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation, I believe all of this calls for expert opinion testimony. This witness has never been listed as an expert in any field, including the drug trade, drug language that is commonly done by the state attorney's office in cases involving wiretaps and the interception of communications.
No speaking objection, Mr. Boyle. I understand your objection. It's overruled. I think they've laid the proper predicate. But Mr. Manti, I would ask you to remind the witness, Ms. Barton, please keep your voice up. I'm having trouble hearing you. If I'm having trouble hearing you, more importantly, Madam Court reporter is having trouble hearing you. So please keep your voice up.
If I can adjust this perhaps, John. Chair, look there. Is that better?
Yes.
Are you going to close? Move that scoot chair.
All right, I believe the question was about, you got any more subs? Is that yes?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, is that better?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me what having any more subs would refer to, or subs?
Subtext?
Is that also narcotics?
Yes.
Is the full name Suboxone?
Yes.
There are phrases, and I'll refer to line 32133 for this. For example, in that conversation about subs, $15. Do you know what that's in reference to?
Cost?
The cost per pill?
Yes.
And how about a request of 2 for $20? Is that a request for sort of a discount for buying in bulk?
Yes, I would assume.
Okay. If I were to go to page 3490 for the record, line 32830. There's a message from an Amanda Gloria that says, can you get some loud? Do you know what loud is?
Weed?
Marijuana?
Yes.
Did the defendant occasionally deal in that as well?
Yes.
Without belaboring too much the point, if I were to fast forward to page 4620, line 36356, there's a message from a Courtney Mauricio. Is that also one of the defendant's sort of customers or people he exchanged things with?
Yes, sir.
It says, hey, state me one of them M's if you still got them. The response is okay. What are M's?
Morphine.
Morphine? And then on that same page, line 36379, there's a request from Adam Nerfit's cousin. Is that also one of the defendant's customers or people he conducted these exchanges with?
Yes.
It says, I can get a dub. What's a dub?
20 bags of cocaine.
And if that discussion about the dub was occurring on July 23rd, 2015 at around 11:55 p.m., would you have been physically present?
No.
Where were you?
At work.
Where were your children?
With Ruth.
If I go back to page 4531, and I start at line 36253 with a message from Vicky. You know who Vicky is?
Yes.
Is that also one of the defendant's customers or people he conducted these exchanges with?
Yes.
It says, let me know if you get a hold of anything today. I'm at work till about 3. Do you know what get a hold of anything and coming from Vicky? Did the defendant speak with her in that fashion?
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
Have you been present for similar conversations of that variety between the defendant, Vicky, and others?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the context in which he spoke with this sort of language?
Yes.
Or in which he was spoken to with this sort of language?
Yes.
And the context is
Making a deal.
making a drug deal?
Yes.
To your knowledge, did he ever buy anything other than drugs from Vicky?
No.
Did she ever buy anything other than drugs from him?
No.
If I continue down to line 36273 and 36274 on the same page, where there's a message to Vicky, wasn't able to get ours filled, but I still have the other ones at my house. And then from Vicky, the morphs, to Vicky, yeah. Are you familiar with that language as well?
Yes.
What are the R's?
Roxy.
Roxycodone?
Yes.
And what are the morphs?
Morphine.
Are you familiar with persons who would go by the name of Lupita
Yes.
and Paul,
Yes.
Christy Pittman,
Yes.
Courtney Mauricio,
Yes.
Jessica,
Jessica.
Jessica Rodriguez,
Yes.
Jessica Trieber.
Yes.
Okay. And would those be also people like those that we've discussed, that the defendant would communicate about drugs with or engage in these transactions with?
Yes.
Go to page 3493. And for reference, line 32924. Message from Jody Nerfit. In future reference, I get 30s monthly too. What are 30s?
It could be morphine, it could be fluoxetine.
Roxcoda.
Yes.
Either one of those might fit in 30. Is a 30 reference again, like you called it before, to weight?
Yes.
If I back up to line 32917 on that same page. Guess you don't deal in anything other than bulk, was just hoping for a favor and would make it worthwhile. You've been around for conversations with that variety as well?
Yes.
And can you tell us the context of that one, please?
Drugs.
All right. Ms. Barton, is it your understanding then that the defendant would participate and engage in these things on multiple occasions, on multiple days, when you were there with your children,
Yes.
and sometimes when you were not there?
Yes.
Objection leading.
Sustained.
Would you occasionally not be there?
Yes.
And would your children sometimes be there even though you weren't?
Yes.
If I could have just a moment here.
Yes, sir.
The date or dates that are in question in particular focus in this case, the end of July, July 23rd, July 24th of 2015, was the defendant still actively engaging in these types of activities as far as you knew during that point in time?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for conclusion.
Overruled.
Yes.
Yeah, he was doing that?
Yes.
In fact, on that very night, had he given you some cocaine?
Yes.
Did you occasionally participate in some of the defendant's business activities like this? Would you make deliveries for him?
Yes.
Would you collect money from people and return it to him?
Yes.
And on that particular night, had he given you some cocaine as well for that purpose?
Yes.
Which particular night?
Sorry, the night of July 23rd into July 24th.
Yes.
The night your child went missing.
Yes.
Was that act in any way really unusual for the defendant? In other words, to provide drugs or be dealing drugs in connection with yourself?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for character evidence.
Sustained.
Had you done this on multiple occasions for him?
Yes.
And I'm sure you got something out of it too?
Yes.
You were living with him after all, right?
Right.
And was it in any way unusual for him to be conducting this activity while he was watching and in custody of your children?
Objection, Your Honor, calls for character evidence.
Overruled.
Thank you. No other question, Chuck?
That's it. Cross, Mr. Moore?
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, obviously, it would be a matter of simple logic that if you were not present, you don't know, you don't have personal knowledge as to what Ruben Ebron was doing, correct?
If I'm not there.
You wouldn't have seen anything, correct?
Right.
Ma'am, on June 17th, 2015, do you have an independent recollection as to where your children were that day?
June what?
June 17th, 2015.
Yes.
Where were they?
Do you believe in the right-hand part?
Okay. Do you have any personal knowledge of any drug deals that Mr. Ebron did on June 17th, 2015?
Not specifically that date, but I don't remember.
Okay. On June 18th, do you have an independent recollection as to where your children were?
Yes.
Where were they?
We were at Hannah Park.
For 2 days? You were at Hannah
That
Park?
was my daughter's birthday. We rented a motel room with my parents and I.
Okay. On June 18th, do you have any independent recollection or any independent personal knowledge of any drug deals that the defendant did on June 18th?
Not that I can remember.
June 22nd, do you know where your children were?
Yes.
Where were they?
We were in between my mom's house and Ruben's.
What time did you get to your house from your mom's house?
We actually left the motel and then went to my mom's house. That's Father's Day weekend.
Do you have any personal knowledge of any drug deals that Ruben Ebron did on June 22nd, 2015?
No.
June 23rd, 2015, do you know where your children were?
Yes.
Where were they?
You said June?
June 23rd, yes ma'am.
Yes, we were back at the house.
Yeah, at the Ravenswood Apartments?
Yes.
Okay. On that date, do you have any personal knowledge of any drug deals that Ruben Ebron did that day?
I don't know. I can't remember.
On June 24th, were the children still at the Ravenswood Apartments with you and Ruben?
I'm trying to remember. Their father got them some time after Father's Day, so I'm trying to remember exactly the dates I remember.
Okay. So, and please correct me if I'm wrong, ma'am, but you are not sure whether on June 24th you and Ruben had the kids or Chris Barton had the kids, correct?
June, yes, that's correct.
Do you have any personal knowledge of any drug deals that Ruben Ebron did on June 24th, 2015?
I was with them.
Is that a yes or no? Do you have personal knowledge of any drug deals from June 24th?
No, not particularly that day. No.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I'm just trying to establish the record as to what you might remember or what you might not. Same question, June 25th. Do you believe the kids were with you or with Chris Barton out in Baker County?
I want to say maybe with us.
Okay. Do you have any personal knowledge and independent recollection of any drug deals that Ruben Ebron did on the 25th of June, 2015?
Not to in particular people, but this was something that was on a regular basis, so.
Right. But you don't remember a particular deal from the 25th, correct?
No.
Same question for June 28th. You don't remember any particular drug deal on June 28th, do you?
No.
Do you know where the kids were on June 28th, whether in Jacksonville with you or in Baker County with Chris?
I think they were with us.
Between July 1st and July 2nd, Were the kids in Jacksonville with you or in Baker County with Chris Bartlett?
I do believe they were with Chris.
And over those 2 days, July 1st to July 2nd of 2015, you don't have any independent recollection of any particular drug deal that Ruben Ebron did on those 2 days, do you?
Not a particular one.
Leading up to July 21st and July 22nd, the kids were here in Jacksonville, correct?
Yes.
Do you remember any particular drug deals that Ruben Ebron did on either of those 2 days?
Yes.
Which ones?
Recall Brittany for one, Brittany Kelly. And also Paul coming over early that morning.
Okay, this is, I don't mean to turn around now, but Thursday would have been the 23rd.
Yes.
Now, I'm talking about the 21st and 22nd. Which day was Brittany over at your apartment?
Probably be safe to say both days.
Okay, so she was there both on the 21st and the 22nd?
Yes, she come over regularly.
Did you witness the defendant hand any drugs to Brittany Kelly on either the 21st or the 22nd of July 2015?
Yes, I have.
Okay, on which day was that?
I want to say the 22nd.
Okay, and where did the defendant hand Miss Kelly on that?
My bedroom.
And what did the defendant hand her?
Pill.
Do you know what kind?
Roxy.
Okay, and how much did she pay for that?
$30.
Where were the kids at that time?
Our house.
Where in the house?
In the playroom.
Okay, so also on the second floor of the apartment, but down the hall, correct?
Yes.
And you and Ruben were in your bedroom?
Yes.
And is that the only drug transaction that you recall from the 21st and 22nd of July 2015?
That stands out vividly, yes.
Okay. So as you testify here today, that's the only one that you can recall and testify being sure of your answer, correct?
In front of me, yes.
Ma'am, Mr. Manti went over a number of text messages with you and had you somewhat, interpret or decipher these text messages. As you sit here today, can you testify that every time Mr. Ebron either received a text message or sent a text message that you believe to be concerning drugs, that a drug deal actually took place?
Not every time he picked up his phone, but
So that's a no. You cannot testify that every time.
not every single time he used his phone, no.
Okay, but concerning the text messages that have drug talk in it, whether it's a reference to M's or R's or morphs or does, can you testify that you have personal knowledge that every time a text message containing one of those words appears, that a drug deal was actually done?
Yes.
You're sure of that?
Yes, I'm sure.
How are you sure of that?
I lived there.
Okay, so how were you monitoring every one of Mr. Ebron's text messages?
Pretty rarely, yeah.
Okay, so even while you were dancing at Wacko's, you were monitoring the text messages that he was sending and receiving?
When I would get home, yeah, I would go through his phone.
And so how would you know that a drug deal actually took place if hours later you looked at his phone and saw these text messages?
Sometimes I would ask him, did this person come by, did that person? And if he confirmed it, then he confirmed it.
Can you remember any of those dates in which you asked him about any of these transactions?
And like I said before, I lived with them, so they were pretty regular.
Okay, can you, as you testify here today, can you specify any particular date that you actually did that? You questioned him about who came by to pick up drugs?
Not a specific date.
Thank you, Judge. No further questions.
Anything else from the witness?
One question. All the days that you lived with and interacted with this defendant, how many days did he conduct 0 drug transactions?
Probably none.
Another question.
Anything else from the witness?
No, sir.
All right, then the witness be returned to the jail.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, thank you, ma'am, for your time. Give me one moment, please.